Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I'm confused about the fiqh of divorce, particularly the ruling on 3 divorces in one sitting. So, Bismillah. There's no need to be confused. As far as the ruling is concerned, it is considered unlawful for a husband to divorce his wife in a haram manner. And there are various expressions of how it is haram. For example, it is haram to divorce one's wife during her menstruation cycle. It is haram to divorce one's wife during a clean period in which one has already had physical relations in that marriage. So it has to be outside of that framework. And then in addition to that, the manner in which a divorce takes place. At-talaqu marratan. Talaq is 2 occasions wherein imsakun bima'ruf, where imsak is possible, where the husband is able to take back his wife and, continue with the marriage. After which, if he pronounces divorce again, then there's no way that he can take her back. They would have to go their separate ways, live their separate lives, should she get married again naturally, and consummate that marriage naturally. And I mean by saying naturally, I mean that it is not something planned or arranged. And then she subsequently gets divorced, then they may remarry, or rather she may remarry with the original husband, the first husband, again. There's a huge misconception, at least in the South African context, and I'm sure that, similar types of misconceptions may be found elsewhere, that talaq is done by the husband pronouncing the word divorce 3 times, right? There's so many memes about this, and it's a huge misconception, because people hear that in Islam the husband pronounces 3 divorces and then it's a divorce, but that's an oversimplification of the matter. So to make it as simple as this oversimplification, yet in the soundest manner possible, the way that a divorce is conducted in those specified times that I mentioned is that the husband would pronounce a divorce to the wife or upon the wife, whether in her presence or not, whether with witnesses or not, regardless of his state. And that one pronouncement of talaq or of divorce would mean that they are divorced. That from that point, they are no longer fully married. They would have to go their separate ways. She would have to assume iddah. He would have to move out of that residence. They do not stay together. They do not live together. And then within the iddah period, if the husband seeks to remarry, if the husband would like to remarry, if the wife would like to remarry, they come to an agreement, he can then take her back, but he has to pronounce that he's taking her back in the same manner that he pronounced that he divorced her. If he takes her back, when they get back together, he now has 2 pronouncements of divorce remaining, right? Should they again enter into a troubled period and again he pronounces a single divorce, then once more they would have to separate in the same manner that they did before, being completely divorced in the sense that they are no longer a full married couple. And once again, she would have to resume her iddah, or not resume, but rather she would have to assume iddah. And in that iddah period, if the husband decides to remarry, or the couple decides to remarry, he can then take her back by pronouncing that he takes her back again. So this is at-talaqu marratan. Talaq is 2 occasions. Then if they get back together and they live their lives together, if a problem comes up again and he happens to pronounce a 3rd pronouncement of divorce, 1 single pronouncement, this would then be talaq ba'in. This would be the end of the road for the couple. They would no longer be able to get married to one another except under the conditions that we've mentioned earlier, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. So the ruling of the overwhelming majority of scholars of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that the divorce pronouncement is done in this way. And if a husband pronounces 3 divorces in one go, according to the majority, this would count as 3 divorces. It's irrevocable. That means that he had bypassed the entire process that we highlighted, and they immediately entered into a talaq ba'in, meaning they are completely divorced and there's no way for them to reconcile. This is the opinion of the overwhelming majority. Are there other peripheral views? Yes, there are. is the view of the likes of Shaykh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah and others. But many scholars problematize this view and they don't accept this view as valid. However, we do find that in certain, certain, call them rare cases. I don't actually want to use the word rare because it's not as rare as it may seem. But in certain cases, because of ignorance, because of this misconception that people have about divorce and how it is conducted, what scholars would often do, as is the practice here in South Africa, is if a couple, found themselves in the situation where the husband didn't know and he pronounced 3 divorces and the like, and they then appear before a court of Islamic law, so in front of an ad hoc court of Islamic judges who hear their case, sometimes the scholars would offer this alternative view, bearing in mind, of course, that this is a minority view. It's not a mainstream view. It's not a view that should easily be resorted to, but it's reality that people live with. So that's where your confusion really comes in. How do we operate? How do we live our lives? Is a 3-in-1 divorce counted as 1 or is it counted as 3? Again, the default ruling is 3 divorces count as 3. The example my teacher used to give, even though it may be a bit graphic for some, is that essentially you have a talaq gun. Inside the talaq gun is 3 bullets. Once you shoot, you've shot the bullet. It's gone. It's out. The injury is caused. The hurt is caused. Of course, we're not saying that anybody should physically shoot anybody else, وَلِعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, but just to give you an understanding of the concept. So even if the person, releases his bullets and he then says, no, I made a mistake, or I was angry, or I didn't mean to, or I didn't know, it's still 3 bullets that's gone. It's still 3 injuries. It's still, the end of the marriage. That's the default ruling. Wallahu subhanahu wa ta'ala a'lam.
La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.